Hey, help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also hit that like button to subscribe if you want more Cavs-focused content.
So Darius Garland, it was recently announced that he had a serious enough injury with his foot that it's going to require surgery that's going to keep him out a significant period of time. This obviously kills any talk of trading Darius, which, you know, given what people were throwing out there, did not seem that appealing. And this brought up another conversation that people have been having about Darius Garland. And I just find it funny how it is that we talk about two players on this Cavs team, Jared Allen and Darius Garland. No matter what happens in a series, no matter what happens in a game, no matter what these guys do individually, it seems like there are a lot of people who want to make it Darius Garland's fault or Jared Allen's fault. There might be other people who are more to blame for how a series went, but boy, oh boy, do people get excited the second they get an inch of space to blame something on Darius Garland or Jared Allen. If you don't like that I'm saying this, if this makes you irrationally angry, if this prompts you to spend the next 10 minutes typing out a comment because you're in your feelings, because you feel like I'm calling you out, well, then the shoe does fit. You're one of these people I'm talking about. Now, if none of these things describe you, then you're all right. But there are a lot of people, media folks, fans alike, who just blame Darius, who just blame Jared. And it's interesting that we're coming off of back-to-back disappointing playoff runs. And one playoff run, Jared Allen's injured. He plays through the injury, then gets to a point where he can't play anymore. People call him soft for not playing anymore. We find out he had broken ribs. Then everybody goes, oh, my bad. And then 3 months later, we forget about it and then go back to calling Jared Allen soft. Same thing's going to happen to Darius Garland, who Darius Garland played through the injury, right? Like he did what y'all were mad that Jared Allen didn't, right? He played through the injury, clearly looked affected by the toe injury. I remember pointing this out to people who would call Darius Garland soft in that middle of that Pacers series, and I would say, how is he soft? He's playing through injury. Like, people question the Cavs' toughness. Well, Darius Garland was out there playing through a truly messed up toe. A toe that requires surgery. What would have probably been a season-ending injury if it had happened in the regular season. That's what Darius was out there trying to play through. And at the time, and from the end of that series till they announced that he had surgery on it, everybody swore that it was because Darius Garland simply isn't tough enough. He couldn't fight through the pain, right? It was something silly like that. Then this news drops that Darius needed surgery and that the injury was much worse than what some people were letting on the internet. And the same people who would not stop calling Darius Garland soft now realize that they kind of sound like assholes for how they were acting. So now what they've moved to is being mad at the Cavs organization for not telling us the extent of Darius Garland's injury, which I find ridiculous. Because if you're Darius Garland and you're trying to play through an injury, one, you're not going to let the league know that you're playing through something that you need surgery. You're not going to let the other team know that you're playing, that you have to get surgery at the end of all of this, right? Or the other teams that you might face. Let's imagine the Cavs get past the Pacers and you have to play the Knicks, right? Like, that's not something that you want out there for your opponent to grasp. And also, we knew that the toe was hurt. He probably made it hurt to the point where he needed surgery trying to play through it. Like, it's not an understandable expectation that the Cavs come out here and tell you what's wrong with the player. And let's be honest about it. The reason a lot of folk underplayed the Darius Garland injury is the same reason a lot of folk underplayed the Jared Allen one. And it's not because of a lack of information. Information was out there. It's because at the end of the day, you don't like Darius. You don't like something about Jared Allen. And you're always going to assume that they're soft, even when they're playing through injury, because that is the narrative that you want to be true in your head. I saw people who were doing this to Darius be mad at the Cavs. Be mad at yourself. The only reason you did not think this Darius Garland injury was serious was because you chose to believe it wasn't serious. I was watching this. I had eyeballs too, and I thought to myself, Darius looks really hurt. This looks like it's more than like a hurt toe, y'all. Seems like he's putting a lot around that toe to make sure that it doesn't re-injure. The same way you could tell that Jared Allen busted his ribs up. There was enough information to understand the severity of the injury. The reason a lot of folks didn't understand the severity of the injury is because they chose not to. That's the truth of it. And that's the reality about how Darius gets treated in this city by some people. Not everybody. There are definitely a lot of diehard Darius Garland people in Cleveland. But let's be real. There's a lot of people who have hovered around those two guys being the problem. Think about it like this. Was Darius Garland the worst player in that series despite being injured? Was Jared Allen the worst player in that series despite being injured? But those two, man, people want to get them out of town so bad. Ty Jerome was so bad in that series, nobody said a word about it since. Donovan Mitchell shot 25% from three. Not hearing a word about that. And because Donovan put up some points here, had some games where he had, more than you would expect him to have. But Jared put up 22 times. You don't expect that to happen in a 7-game series. Jared's not a 20-point scorer. He put up 20-plus 2 times in 5 games. Nobody cares about that, right? It's all focused on Darius and Jared Allen. I don't know what people's obsession is with these two. And maybe it's like because they're smaller for their position, they get most the hate focused on them. But I think it's ridiculous. The trade scenarios that people have been throwing out there in Darius Garland's name, I'm glad they announced that he needs surgery, because I'm just going to tell you this. I'm so glad that these trade machines are dead for Darius Garland, because we were just getting bad trades at the bad trades. And sure, would I be open to trading Darius if there was an upgrade available? Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I want the Cavs to be a better team. But the idea that I just want to trade Darius just to trade him is silly. You know? This was an interesting week of news for the Cavaliers, because I don't know about you. I wasn't really surprised when I heard that Darius needed surgery for that toe. A lot of people were. I don't know why. Did you watch the games? He looked injured. And also, I want to ask this question. At what point are we just going to accept that the Cavs were injured in this series? They're injured in this series, and they were playing the hottest team in the NBA. For 2 years in a row, that's what's happened to the Cavaliers. It's a bad draw. I understand it. It's unfortunate. We expected more out of a 60-win team. But at some point, we just got to accept you got injured, and then you played the hottest team in the NBA. And that was a combination of things that you just didn't overcome this year. Doesn't mean that you can't do it if you stay healthy next year, if you get hot at the right time next year. It just means that it didn't go your way this time. But that's my thoughts about it. I thought this Darius Garland thing and how people reacted to it was interesting, because I just think how people act about Darius and Jared, I think it's unfair to those two players. And look, I have my criticisms of Darius Garland. I have my criticisms of Jared Allen, right? My big thing with Jared is that he's just a undersized center at the end of the day, right? I've gotten to my arguments with Jared Allen stance because Jared Allen stance sometimes don't like to admit that Jared Allen is undersized. He is, and that has problems, right? I've had my issues with Darius Garland, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to sit here and be unfair. Now I'm going to watch this dude be injured, play through an injury, and then still have the audacity to question his toughness. And then don't stop doing that until it breaks that he needs surgery. And then even when the news breaks that it needs surgery, start copping pleas about how it's the Cavs' fault that I was out here calling the players off. Because he played through an injury. Like, I don't know why we act like this towards Darius, but it is one of the strangest things about Cavs fandom is how this fan base at times tends to look at Darius as the only problem that exists on the Cleveland Cavaliers. But I guess this happens to a player on every team in every sport. I guess Darius just had the unfortunate draw of becoming that guy. We'll see. Hopefully Darius recovers fast from his injury. Cavs still need to get a backup point guard. We're going to have conversations about that later this week. But y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.